Hi everyone, welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.
Right now, the two hottest equities are Bitcoin and Tesla. What is causing this and why? We'll explore the similarities the two of them have and why everyone is going to go crazy over them. We'll talk about similar events in history and the outcomes, and the reason why Cathie Wood says everyone should have these two in their portfolio. One of my favourite things they have in common is decentralization. Rather than large authorities controlling activities, it is given to the people. In Tesla's case, they're literally giving power to the people. How did Tesla do it? Well, Tesla are trying to move the world to solar energy. You place solar panels on your own roof, on your own property. All the power generated by the panels is yours. You don't even need to be connected to the grid. You can become totally power independent and not at the mercy of any power companies continually raising the prices of electricity. Not only that, but you can even sell your electricity back to the grid. And once Tesla's auto bidder software has reached saturation, you'll be able to earn even more income from the energy you created. Yes, I'm aware many countries have a lot of regulation around this, but not all of them. I think Tesla can already operate in Germany and the UK. This would be an economic advantage for any nation, as it essentially reduces the cost of power to its citizens, meaning they can compete in business more competitively due to lower costs. So eventually Tesla's lobbyists will be able to demonstrate this and deregulate it, as it just makes economic sense, if we can get past all the crony capitalism. In fact, in the US, I'm willing to bet a Tesla share that Texas will be the first state in the US to introduce autobidder, and actually not just because of the Austin Gigafactory, and not because Elon lives there. No, because Texas actually has its own independent grid. Texas is a quite unique state in a lot of ways. I believe they're also the only state that has the freedom to leave the US and become sovereign if they so choose. So how does Bitcoin decentralize? Well, there are no banks controlling your Bitcoin. There is no central bank that has control over your Bitcoin. No government has jurisdiction over your Bitcoin. They can't simply print more of it, like they do with fiat currencies. Every time money is printed, it dilutes the existing money supply. This then creates inflation, and suddenly your cash doesn't go as far as it used to. Inflation is nothing more than a tax you pay passively. Bitcoin is the best form of scarcity mankind has ever seen, and that's the beauty of it. Gold is used as a storage of wealth, not because it's pretty and makes good jewelry. No, it's because it's scarce. Yet they're still mining more gold, so new gold does come to market. Bitcoin is limited to 21 million Bitcoin, and it's rumoured that around 4 million of those are probably lost. So gold and silver were used as currencies because of their properties, not their look and feel. So imagine if there was another metal on the periodic table that had these following properties. As a thought experiment, imagine there was a base metal as scarce as gold, but with the following properties: boring grey in colour, not a good conductor of electricity, not particularly strong, not useful for any particular ornamental purpose, and one special magical property: can be transported over a communications channel. To understand Bitcoin's value, it's imperative to understand what money and currencies are. We just use them without thinking and see value in cash. But we believe in our currencies, and that's what gives them value. But if the belief becomes stronger in Bitcoin, particularly with all the money printing that's going on now, and people start to realize it's just a better version of gold that does everything required that gold does in the way of storing wealth, the more people will move their gold to Bitcoin, which we're already seeing. Gold is incredibly hard to move around. It is not fungible, it can be stolen or easily lost. This is partly why we use cash that was initially backed by gold. However, Bitcoin actually has all the convenience of a fiat currency and storage of wealth. Except better again, when moving currencies around it can be costly and take some time. Bitcoin is very fast and the cost is practically negligible. So Bitcoin is a better alternative to gold and potentially currency. The issue with it is a currency is too volatile, at least currently, but we have absolutely no idea of the consequences that all this money printing has done. When inflation catches up, and it inevitably has to, then we can't be sure how stable currencies will be any longer either. Despite how high Tesla's stock price is and how high the price of Bitcoin is, the true believers, or the hodlers, think we're just getting started. They're still expecting returns of 10 or even 30 times more. The thing is, it's just so hard to value these entities. Tesla could dominate energy and transport, which are two absolute juggernauts of industries. We can only speculate as to what that could do to the stock price. But then we deal with numbers that are so high, so much bigger than any other company in history, it's just hard to believe, and most don't. And of course robotaxis. When you start doing those numbers, they're too big to fathom as well. And then Bitcoin could replace gold as a way to store wealth. Bitcoin is currently around $650 billion, but I believe the total value of gold in the world is around $9 trillion. So if all gold was replaced by Bitcoin for this purpose, then Bitcoin would increase 15 times. The real big play is if the currencies collapse and citizens lose confidence in them. Whenever we have a recession, this is why gold usually goes up, because they lose faith in currencies and want to have some sort of protection for their wealth, just in case the worst happens. But this gold is usually stored in some vault in the middle of a mountain in Switzerland. It's not easily available or readily accessible, especially if the economy is in serious turmoil. But Bitcoin is at your instant disposal 24/7. And yes, Bitcoin investors also hope that it will become the single global currency, and then the price might actually go further than Mars. If we start seeing more corporations buying it up big, then institutions and banks might follow, and then governments might finally have to accept their days of printing money are over. Talk to any of the Tesla fanboys, and they will quickly tell you that Tesla has no competition, and the yardstick we use is range. It doesn't matter if it's an electric Rolls Royce. If it doesn't have the right range, it's just inconvenient, and literally limited to driving only local. Long road trips are not easy in any non-Tesla EV. And then the fanboys will likely tell you, even to this day, there is no other EV on the market that has the range of a 2012 Model S. 9 years later, and still no one else has reached that. I mean, that is seriously impressive, and perhaps a bit sad for the competition. It's the same if you talk to a Bitcoin maximalist. They will tell you how the competition, referred to as altcoins, are no real competition either. None of them are decentralized. Ethereum is the next most popular. It's the Bitcoin equivalent of Neo. However, you're at the control of Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum. It's his currency, just like dollars are the Federal Reserve's currency. There is control. What makes Bitcoin the most secure is a number of things. The Bitcoin ledger, or blockchain, is protected by more miners, i.e. more computational power than all the other thousands of cryptos combined. The Bitcoin network is protected within a fortress of encrypted energy, as Michael Saylor describes it. By keeping the block size small, and thus the total size of its ledger small, it is possible for anyone to run a full node, making the network more decentralized by auditing for themselves that the consensus rules are being followed. This ensures that no person or group is ever able to exert control over the network and change the rules to their benefit. Bitcoin has the greatest network effects of any cryptocurrency. It has the most liquidity, and due to its decentralized architecture, the most credible monetary policy. Although transferring Bitcoin can be a bit slower than some of the other cryptos, you can actually do instant transactions with Bitcoin too, with a wallet, and you can keep around $1,000 of Bitcoin in there ready to go whenever you like. Most of these altcoins are just used to make the founders exceedingly wealthy, whereas Bitcoin essentially has no founder. Okay, Tesla does have a founder here, and the founder has become exceedingly wealthy. Both equities have a very solid and loyal fan base, never seen before in the world. No, this is nothing like Apple. This is a whole other level. The Tesla fanboys and Bitcoin maximalists, as they're known, they're holding these equities not just to make money, but just because they have to be a part of it. They need to be in. A lot of people, myself included, care little about the day-to-day or even year-to-year fluctuation of price. It's almost cult-like. Here are these two entities fighting the old legacy industries, transport, energy and finance. So much crony capitalism has gone on these industries. They've been stealing from the people for so long and destroying the planet we live on. We can't wait to see them taken down. Investors are fighting the fight with them by holding onto their shares or Bitcoin. There's even a saying called HODL, H-O-D-L. It was a misspelling from a drunken tweet years back about someone telling everyone to hold. It has been since elaborated to the acronym Hold On for Dear Life, with the inference that you'll never ever sell. It may sound easy, but it's not. These are two very volatile equities. I myself have been down 40% at one stage of my Tesla investment, but I held. I also did everything I could to buy more. The thing is, it's really only the fanboys and maximalists that are holding, or hodling, because they have these visions that I've mentioned. They're here to see this through, no matter how it ends. But if I sold all my shares of Tesla, all I want to do with my money is buy Tesla shares. That's what derives the most pleasure to me, being a part of the company. I could sell them and buy all sorts of cool toys, but the novelty of them would just wear off, and then I've ended up wasting money. Tesla shares is all I want. I have to be a part of this too. Due to their volatility, there are so many people who get in and try and time the market. I've seen it time and time again. They actually make a few profitable trades until one day they sell when it's at an all-time high, except it doesn't stop going up and never goes back down again. Then these investors never get back in again, or have to pay really big to get back in. The hodlers understand enough that they never consider selling. Why? Because they know there could be that really big jump coming around the corner whether it's next month or next decade. It makes no difference. They aren't selling until then. There's just such a wave of excitement with these equities. Investors are just obsessed. They can't get enough. They can't stay off social media. They have to absorb every new YouTube video that comes out. They can't get enough because it's just so exciting. A lot of these investors know a lot more about Tesla than the professional analysts and have been beating their price targets for years. It's not just the Tesla investors, but the Tesla car owners too. They can't get enough of the car. They absolutely love it. I don't think we've ever seen such love for a brand. Not even Apple. The brand is adored and the CEO is loved. And yes, this is reflected in the price too, and that's something you have to expect. If you're looking for value investing, then invest in Berkshire Hathaway. If you want to invest in something that makes you feel good and invest in something that's changing the world, rather than companies that are just destroying it. And yes, this is reflected in the price too, and that's something you have to expect. If you're looking for value investing, then invest in Berkshire Hathaway. But if you want to invest in something that makes you feel good, then invest in something that's changing the world, rather than companies that are destroying it. Neither of them are income-producing assets. Tesla does now make profits, but they aren't trying to. It's not time to cash cow yet. I don't want them to make any profits, really. They still have tons of cash. I'd rather they just grew the company as fast as possible, although it is nice to know that they can make profits easily if necessary. However, you can obviously earn money mining for Bitcoin. Well, perhaps not you, but some people can. There are also services that give you interest lending your Bitcoin out, but Bitcoin itself doesn't directly give you any income compared to money earning interest in a bank. But remember, the money you earn in the bank probably doesn't even cover inflation. So your Bitcoin earning nothing is likely to still do better than your money in the bank. But are they showing all signs of a bubble? When we talk about the madness of markets, I always like to look back at the Roaring Twenties, when President Calvin Coolidge announced that the business of America is business. America had recently seen electricity, and it spurred so many new inventions that made life so much easier with electricity. But not only that, Henry Ford had created a vehicle that was affordable to the masses, and Nikola Tesla had discovered radio, although sadly Marconi took the credit at the time. These new innovations spurred the stock market. This was the technology of the day. RCA was one such company that people couldn't buy enough of. It also never paid a dividend, but it went through the roof. Back then, there was much less regulation too, and the stocks were heavily manipulated with pump and dump schemes. The likes of Joseph Kennedy, the father of JFK, became seriously wealthy from such schemes. Of course, we know how this ended. The market crashed, and we went into the Great Depression. Compare that to now. Well, back then, the Dow Jones had quadrupled over about 5 years. Now that's absolutely crazy. If we just take from the last point the Dow doubled, we go back to 2013. So over the last 7 years, the Dow has only increased 100% compared to the market quadrupling in an even smaller period. And that includes the massive bull run we just saw in 2020. So it's not the overall market that's going crazy. It seems to be a few select equities. And, as I've already discussed, these prices can be justified. As far as the madness of crowds goes, it's always just before the crash when the market goes up the most. Despite everything that's going on in the world today, I think the Dow Jones is at a reasonable price when compared to the Depression, especially given the low interest rates and quantitative easing. These equities are redefining industries, and they haven't even come close to finishing yet. So there we have it, potentially the two most disruptive technologies the world has ever seen. In the age of disruption, it's inevitable tech will come after every industry, especially these legacy industries run by dinosaurs with no innovation, just huge moats to prevent any competition, creating cartels to fix prices, far too much control and power in general. I also think the next industry to be disrupted will be healthcare. Healthcare is around 10 to 15% of a nation's GDP, and we're seeing genomics starting to show signs of disrupting this space too. It's a new world, and it's being built fast around us right now. Make sure you back the right horses. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe.